Saludos and salutations, Broncos country, and welcome to another exciting episode of Broncos Talk. I'm your host, Adan Diaz, and joining me, as always, right above me, to my right, is at Broncos Viking, Johnny Taki, and to my left, at RichirichEh.
Johnny Taki. All right.
I'm sorry, Baki. Sorry.
That's right, but you know what? You know what?
Okay,
I love to
guys.
talk,
He's
and I love talking.
Yeah. I've had a little too much of the bubbly. Guys, before the show. Guys, we are a fan-led Broncos-based podcast filling you in on all things NFL news, but more importantly, Broncos news. We go live every single Tuesday at 7654 on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Guys, we are on a quest for 1,000 subs. If you have ever wondered how to support a growing channel, the absolute best way to do it is to subscribe, hit that thumbs up, comment, and share. The more interaction we get on the pods, the more eyes we get in front of. And if it's not enough incentive for you guys, Glenn Hauser has stated and said for the record that once we hit that 1,000 subs record, he will do the next MHRT podcast wearing the Barrel Man Barrel. So if that's not exciting for you guys, I don't know what is. There you go. So Hercules for that. So make sure you slap that thumbs up button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share so that you can know when we go live any single time we post amazing content on our page, and so that other Broncos fans out there in Broncos country can know that we are here. So, guys, before we get into today's topic, I just want to apologize from last week's episode. We kind of ended it on a pretty quick note, and it was my fault that we didn't do the Mile High Five. So I promised you guys that before we started today's show, we were going to do the Mile High Five.
Well, it's not even all your fault. I created the Mile High Five. And I forgot.
So Johnny, please lead us into the beginning of the Mile High Five.
Let's start this off with a bang, everybody. Here we go. All right, get loose. All right, here we go. Mile High Five. Yes.
Was that good?
Yeah, it seemed great to me.
Have another beer. It was even better.
Oh, Jesus. You know what? I don't even know where I left it when I was drinking. But, guys, anyway, on today's show, we're going to talk about the Broncos team that's assembled right now and just the hype that's being created in terms of just how excellent this defense in general is going to be. Now, you've heard me say it on the show plenty of times that the Vic Fangio in his third year has done some really amazing things with the team he was in. And, you know, he did it with Chicago and he did it with San Francisco in years prior. So now that he's the head coach, that doesn't change anything to me. I personally think that Fangio has built a hell of a defensive squad.
Oh,
you know,
hey.
So, you know, we learned our lesson from last year. We're stacked on depth, especially at cornerback. I mean, it's good to say that this team on paper, you know, predictions ahead, can really, really rival the defense that we had in 2015 with Wade Phillips.
Okay.
Under Wade Phillips.
I mean, yeah, okay. So do you think we're comparable, or do you think we'll rival? I mean, because rival
think
obviously
we could
mean
be better than 2015. I think we could be better.
I mean,
that's going out on a stretch, I know, but I mean, it's just when you read the names on paper.
That's no stretch?
No, that's no stretch. He's out on a tightrope with no net over the. he's like, you know, going skydiving with the small chute. You know.
Snap! Yeah, I mean, it's just. I don't know. I think on paper we're great. I think on paper, like defensively especially, we are, you know, everything's we're rocking. On paper, we look like we could be in the top three and maybe even the top number one defense in the league, this season. And it's really intriguing. That's the word I'm going to use for it. I'm intrigued. I can't wait. Oh God, I know that everybody feels this way. I can't wait for the season to start, just because one, I want to see Broncos football back, but two, because I want to see this team that we've assembled. It's intriguing. I want to see what we're capable of. Quick shout out. We got a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of the fans in the house right now. We've already got Shadow Jacker, EJ in the house. Looks like Ronald Samples is on his wife's phone. So it says RichirichEh. Is that how it's pronounced? RichirichEh? Samples, but it's Ron. So there you go. Dave Glassman's in the house. Jason O'Neill, Mile High Prophet. What up, Prophet? Vic.
Shout out to everybody out in the chat.
Rosie Diaz.
Is my sister?
It's your sister?
Yeah.
Is she just as tall as you? Because I don't think the world's ready for that.
She's pretty tall for a girl. Both my sisters are.
Wow, y'all got the genes. Y'all got the jeans, and I got the stretchy sweatpants. So anyway,
I got those too.
So anyway, shout out to everybody in the comments and all those watching right now and after the fact. We love you guys, and we couldn't do this without you. All right, so Rich, what's your take on the defense right now? Where do you think we're going to be in? Training camp starts in 2 weeks. But then, come 6 weeks from now, we start the regular, the preseason anyway. No, not even. No, we start the preseason soon. Like what, 4 weeks? I think
mid-August, I believe.
Yeah, mid-August. So yeah, that's about 4 weeks.
About a month.
4 weeks from now. Where do you think this defense is going to be, Rich?
Well, I actually think so. I don't want to necessarily go back and compare directly to 2015, but I think you have to understand that in 2015 we had something like 6 Pro Bowlers on our defense. So we were not there last year in terms of So we were not there last year in terms of Pro Bowls and all that other kind of stuff. It just wasn't there. So do we have some people that are certainly maybe approaching Pro Bowl caliber, that kind of stuff? Yes. Now, what I do like is Vic Fangio's defense in general. It is exactly what we need for our division. And that is the most important thing because that is the first hurdle to overcome as a team to make it into the playoffs. What I also like, and this is a big deal because I think this is where you're going to start to see, I think, Simmons play really well. He has better linebacker options on the team right now in terms of sideline to sideline speed.
Is Rich talking nice about Justin Simmons?
I've always been nice to him. That sounded like it. Yeah.
I'm speechless. I mean,
the thing is, no, but here's my deal, right? You have to play a player to their strengths, and I do not believe that we are playing Justin Simmons to his strengths. And so, in my opinion, you need the linebacking play in front of Simmons so that he can stay back and keep the ball in front of him, and that is, I believe, is his strength, and that's where he will absolutely just. He'll take where he was at last year and it'll kind of be brought up to another level. And frankly, kind of ease those that are actually critiquing him in terms of what his play was like the year before. I have never said that he is a bad player. I've just said that I think some of the things that he's been put in situations, and there has been a few plays where, I haven't liked it. I think he can do really well. So I think linebacking play is going to be what our biggest upgrade is this season. You have Sternad coming back and we have Baron Browning. I think we're going to see some rotational guys in there at the middle linebacker position. And we are in a better spot that's closer to what Vic Fangio had in Chicago when he brought in Danny Trevathan from our 2015 defense, tying everything in a neat and tidy bow. And I think that's where we're on track for.
Fact that they haven't named Justin Simmons the best safety in the NFL is an atrocity. Let me just state that for the record. Hey, I may have said his last name wrong, but I was in the vicinity. So I'll take a.
Oh, but any chance I get to use my soundboard, I'm gonna do it, buddy.
I'll take that. Yeah, that's a come on man on me. But and going back to, we talked about this previously. Richie, my main concern isn't Justin Simmons. It's the guy next to Justin Simmons, which is Kareem Jackson. And I was a big Kareem Jackson in his first year with Denver, but last year I kind of feel like he took I don't know if we want to say a backseat, but he just kind of went low in development.
Off a cliff.
Yeah, thank you. Fell off a cliff. And where his future in Denver was really in question. And the fact that there wasn't, I mean, I honestly can't tell you what the reason was why they decided to bring him back. I don't know if there wasn't somebody suitable to George Payton's taste out in free agency, or if he didn't want to trade, or if we didn't get a suitable, number 1 or number 2 or number 3 pick in the draft. God only knows what's going on through the GM's head. But they brought him back, and I can't really say if it's a prove-it deal. I can't really say if it's a prove-it deal, because unless he has like a Simmons-like season where it's like, okay, he can ink maybe another year deal or another 2-year deal. His age is still of concern.
There's that, and honestly, I think he takes a leap forward if he just avoids hurting at least 2 of his own players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, for the love of God, dude, quit knocking out our best players because you're just a little bit too gung ho there. I mean it needs to. You gotta hit the other team. Don't hit us. It's that simple.
Not us hit them. Not us hit them.
If they're not wearing these colors, don't hit them.
So what you're saying is you got to go hold the other team's jersey and say, find that. Find that. Yeah.
Like rip off, David or Derek Carr's jersey and be like, hey,
yeah,
Kareem,
Toto,
hey,
Toto,
come on, Toto, hey, I mean, it's fun.
I wanted to tie off your guys' comment though. Do we not? So I think there's probably 2 things. One, I think you're probably right. There probably wasn't a good enough safety relative to the other players on the board that George Payton wanted to take over the other guys that we selected. Mm-hmm. Now, on the flip side, do you also not think that George Payton probably doesn't trust our coaching staff because of what he was able to see from what we did last year when we literally went out to the stands and picked guys to play cornerback and they played so well for us? Like, do you not think that something like that comes into play when you've gotten guys who have maybe slipped into the 6th and 7th round with those 2 safeties and like the 2 guys that we took in the latter part of the draft, where maybe George is looking at those guys and saying, I bet you we can make one of those guys into a starting caliber or at minimum a rotational kind of backup guy, which if you're getting a guy in the 6th and 7th, man, you've done well.
Yeah, but keep in mind that wasn't so much George Payton. That was more, John Elway was still the boss at the time. And you know what? You can't really blame the coaching staff for the virus, and B, just the injury bug that did more damage than the actual virus itself, did for other teams in the NFL, sitting players out for 2 weeks and what have you. So the injury bug is something that the Broncos have to literally stay the hell away from this season, because even though we have depth, we don't want to dip our toe back in that pool. And,
Hey, EJ, I'm glad. Hey, EJ, I'm glad you love watching me stroke my beard, but do me a favor, keep your pants on. This is a family show, okay? Real quick, EJ also put this up, and I want to allow Justin Safety is the best safety in the NFL.
Justin Safety is the best.
That's
safety.
right. Yeah. I think, and then I like how Dave Glassman took it and said Justin Safety is the best.
He is the best Simmons.
That's right.
I'm gonna tweet him that. Hope he sees it.
We also shout out Travis Tarbox has joined us. He said, "Hello, fellas, Denver Broncos for life." For life. I want to give a shout out real quick to my father. Because this is the very first time my father is, as far as I know, is catching the show live. So, hey, Dad.
Baki.
Yep, Papa Baki. That's right. Love you, Dad. Glad you catch it. All right.
I apologize. I called your son's last name Taki.
Yeah. You don't want to be in front of my dad and get his last name wrong. Trust me. So anyway, all right. So what we were, the plan to talk about today, right, was how on paper, right now, this team compares to the best teams of Broncos yesteryear, right? So, I would go ahead and posit that as far as the Denver Broncos' best teams were the 97, the 97 Super Bowl squad.
Yep.
Probably the 98 Super Bowl squad, because hey, it was pretty much a repeat squad with a few additions and a few subtractions. Not much.
98 was technically better.
Technically, it was.
Yeah, they're technically a better team. Yeah.
So then you have the 2013 Broncos.
Mm-hmm. Offensively.
Offensively, even defense, they were still pretty stacked. It just wasn't the defense just wasn't quite on the level of the offense that year.
Yeah, the injury bug hit us late that season.
And then I would say the 2015. I would say let's compare those four squads to what we've got right now. I don't know what you guys think, but that's
I totally agree.
So
and I've been racking my brain at just trying at the comparison. And like I said at the start of the show, obviously I feel like this team defensively is going to be there's going to be their stronger suit than offensively, because we don't know who the clear number one is, A, and B, once we do find out who the clear number one is, we don't know what kind of player we're going to get in him. If it's Drew Lock, are we going to get the Drew Lock from last year where, he struggled and he doesn't live up to par with all the promises he promised to make during the offseason? Or are we going to get, if it's Teddy Bridgewater, are we going to get Bridgewater from his days with Minnesota? Or are we going to get the Bridgewater from last season where he was supposed to be a big thing in Carolina and it didn't work out?
I mean, that's fair. Yeah. So what do you all right. So how do you guys want to do this? I mean, do we want to just start with the team and talk about the team and the previous team and like by position, or do you want to go by
we can go by position.
By unit? Do we want to go by unit? Or do you want to go?
You basically go by overall year and want to pick out the best year that you think you want to compare against, or you can just go by overall position groups and kind of say we're comparable in this position group to this year. That might be better, because I think you're never going to get a direct comparison like a year to year 100%. So you might be better off trying to pick the year.
That's a fair point. So if you all don't mind, I already know where I have a good starting spot, because I'm so sick and tired of it always being about the quarterback position. I want to start wide receivers. All right. Just for S's and G's, if you can take my meaning there. So let's start with wide receivers. Let's start 97. Yeah, I abbreviated it.
Alphabets.
That's right. That's right. I learned phonics real good. Phonics really hooked on phonics really worked for me. Anyway, so 97, 98, our wide receiver core was pretty much the same. You can pretty much, that we didn't. I do not recall losing any of our starters following the first Super Bowl win. I'm pretty sure we went into 98 with the exact same wide receiver core. So we can go ahead and just compare those right now. So that year, or then at that time, we had Rod Smith, we had Ed McCaffrey, we had you could go ahead and roll him in with the wide receivers just because of how often he was catching the ball with Shannon Sharp. Right.
We had 2 or 3 Pro Bowl. We had 2 Pro Bowlers at wide receiver.
Yeah. Which was Eddie Mack and Smith.
And Rod Smith.
And Rod Smith, yeah.
And who did we play in the slot a lot then? I'm trying to remember.
I can't remember who the wide receiver number 3 was underneath those 2 guys.
Yeah.
I can't
remember who the wide receiver was, but it's okay. We can go ahead and just say that. So we had 2 Pro Bowlers at the time in Ed McCaffrey and Rod Smith. Mm-hmm. Prolific guys as far as Broncos history goes. I mean, both guys will live in Broncos legend forever.
Agreed.
So compared to now, what do you guys see? Our wide receiver core, they were capable of a 97, 98. They were phenomenal.
If I can take this, I have maybe a different take than what other people might go with. I think that team there that you're referring to, both of those teams, the 97, 98, when we look at those teams, even when you compare 2013, for example, we had, was it DT and Emmanuel Sanders, right? You had Pro Bowl, Pro Bowl, Pro Bowl, Pro Bowl, Pro Bowl, Pro Bowl. I actually think when you look at our team now, we are not quite at the same caliber of wide receivers per se. However, that doesn't mean that we can't be, and I want to explain that as well.
Monster.
I'm kind of big.
I'm joking. And you're not wrong.
No, because here's what I mean by that. You have Jerry Jeudy, who's potentially on the uptick. You have Tim Patrick, that took quite a substantive leap forward last year, and he could well take another leap forward this year, and we have to be prepared that that's a possibility.
Yeah, so we do.
We actually have the potential and the possibility on our team to have a better wide receiver core in at least compared to the 2015 run. And
for sure.
And I would argue that we have a much deeper wide receiver room than 97, 98, 97 and 98.
That's the point I was about to make, is that, as far as depth goes, we are stacked.
Yeah. I think that's super important because injuries are going to happen, and you want to have another person that's, I would say just as good, but certainly good enough to step in.
Yeah. Well, you know what? If I had to convince timeouts for dummies.
Amen. You know what, EJ? I've been saying since the end of last season, we need to hire a coach to be the coach's timeout to coach Vic Fangio on timeouts. Who's that? Who's the one that pulls? What's his name? What's his name
Sean
back
McVay.
from the sideline? Yeah, Sean McVay back from the sideline. We need a coach that's standing by Vic Fangio going, timeout, call timeout right now. Go.
Right
Okay.
now.
And then as soon as Fangio's getting ready to do this, be like, stop, what the hell are you doing? Don't you do it.
You have a Timex coach.
Yeah, Timex coach.
Oh my God.
Takes a lick and keeps on ticking.
Exactly.
But right. You know what? If I had to compare wide receivers, though, I'd kind of have to go with the 2013 wide receivers, because if I'm not mistaken, that was the year that Emmanuel Sanders was acquired from the Steelers. Or was it 2012?
2012.
Let's see. When was it? When did we have Eric Decker? We had Eric Decker in there somewhere.
Yeah, I can't remember what year, but when Decker left for the Jets, that's when the Broncos went out and got Sanders as a free agent, I believe.
But either way,
Sanders was Decker's replacement.
Yeah, so either way, Sanders was the new guy on the block compared to what Demaryius Thomas was at the time, and that's pretty much what we have right now with Jerry Jeudy. Even though he's in his second year in the NFL, he's still kind of the new guy going in next to Courtland Sutton. So the basic chemistry between those two wide receivers is the same. The only difference is the guy snapping the ball. Peyton Manning, legendary guy, about to be inducted into the Hall of Fame in Canton in a few weeks, versus either Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater, or to a lesser extent, a quarterback that could be traded, whose name we won't mention right now. But I guess it all depends on who those two guys have the better chemistry with, between Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah. And to answer your question, EJ, you're a monster. Yes, it's the gingerbread man.
Who doesn't love Shrek movies?
For real.
Not the gumdrop buttons.
Not the buttons. Not my gumdrop buttons. Eat me. It's hysterical. So anyway, all right, wide receivers. Wide receivers based on probably our best wide receiver core of all time, which is, in my opinion, the Rod Smith and the 97-98 seasons, that wide receiver core. How all around, how do we stack up right now?
They have a long way to go in terms of reaching that level of I wouldn't even say Pro Bowl, but just superiority. Those guys are two-time Super Bowl champions. They're Ring of Famers for sure, and if not Hall of Famers, soon to be. They're not already in there, I can't remember. But they can get there. They just need the right person to help them get there. Because unfortunately they can't throw the ball and catch it by themselves. So they need help from the coaching staff, from the offensive coordinator, to run plays to make sure that these guys get those 1,000-yard seasons that the predecessors got so easily, being under John Elway, and who was the offensive coordinator at the time? Was it Gary? Oh yeah, Gary Kubiak, who he was the offensive coordinator. 90s, wasn't he 97 and 98?
Gary Kubiak?
Yeah.
Is our offensive coordinator? Yeah.
Yeah, under Mike Shanahan. So and there's another Mike Shanahan.
I always forget to talk about Koobs, because you got to think, like, how many amazing things have been accomplished while Kubiak has had a role. I mean, he was John Elway's backup quarterback for a very long time, and he did good. I mean, you watch tape, he did good when Elway was out.
Yeah,
and then he comes out. He's the offensive coordinator for 2 world championships. He comes back to Denver. We win another one. I mean, it was so sad for me when he had to retire. It killed me.
Yeah, dude. You know what? I always felt bad when I was rewatching those Super Bowl losses, and it was Kubiak who had to go out there and finish the game because the Broncos were in the spot where it was like the game was out of touch anyways. And
right,
if I could ask Gary Kubiak one question, it would probably be like, what was going on? Well, like, what was going through your mind when you're like, okay, like you couldn't wait for this game to be over fast enough,
right.
Of all the games to go out there and close.
So I think to answer your question that was kind of posed there, if our quarterback can start throwing anticipatory throws to our wide receivers on a more consistent basis, and I don't mean you don't have to have this massive leap as a quarterback. You just have to have a quarterback that will throw a guy open or throw to a spot and work on timing and that sort of thing. Maybe not like every throw, but at least a good number of them. I actually think you could start seeing Tim Patrick taking that next step forward because he already showed that he can do that with a quarterback who was ranked at the bottom of the league or even, depending on where you look, 33rd, which was, not a great ranking to, strive for as a starting quarterback. So I actually think we are potentially in a better position now with our wide receivers than we were then. And if Jerry Jeudy can take that next step forward, like he was mentioning out, I was making too many moves to try and get to my spot. So some of it was on me, some of it was on Drew, but he was owning his role in some of the issues that took place in the offense or on the offensive side.
I'm proud of him for that.
Pardon me?
I'm proud of him for it because for a while there, he definitely didn't seem
because
like that.
it shows personal growth, and I think that's, as a fan, that's all you can ask. So if Jeudy can even take that next step forward, and then we have that other option, I would argue that we are in a much better depth position than we were back in any of those other teams that we just mentioned. And if our quarterback can start throwing those anticipatory throws, I think due to the rules and everything in the current NFL, we may end up finding ourselves in an even better spot than even the 97 and 98 teams.
Yeah. I mean, we can't, I'm agreeing here with Ron Samples saying KJ Hamler is a beast. I mean, I agree. I'm worried about his
hammy
injury, his hamstring, his soft, that soft tissue injury. It doesn't go away quick. I've got some concerns there. But I mean, he showed last season that he can. I've already got you, Ron. Already got you, bro. There you go. KJ is a beast, and I think he's poised to take. I think he'll take a step forward too. I mean, he was a rookie just like Jeudy was last season. He'll have once again, he'll have another season in this offense, and that I think he'll be right. It is Hamler string. That's right. Oh, finally, Mundungus is in the house.
The boss is here.
Yeah, the boss is here.
Well, he just got back from Kid 12's softball game, so it takes some time.
Yeah.
They
Alamo on the rise. Alamo on the rise brings it up. Sutton, Jeudy, Patrick, Hamler, Cleveland, Spencer. An elite wide receiving corps. And he's not wrong. Every one of them is loaded with talent in their own ways. And in fact, if you look at them, except maybe some similarities between Court and Patrick, each one of them is like gifted in different ways. Like they each have like some strengths that make them very unique to that position, I think. So that's pretty cool. He was in a meeting. Leave him alone. We will not leave you alone because you never leave us alone, Mundungus. Just kidding. Calm down. Anyway, now I like Dave Glassman's question real quick here. Can you imagine Elway with the current rules and this roster? Whew.
It's beautiful to dream, isn't it, Dave?
The dream. I mean, you think he'd come out of retirement for just maybe one season, one game, one play? Yeah. Could you just imagine like 60-year-old Elway pulling the longest yard, to being like Burt Reynolds did in the longest yard, trotting out on the field in his 60s and like, hold on, I got this. You think I'm here to just coach? No, no. I mean, that'd be cool, but it is what it is. All right, so
I think Elway would be more akin to like a Ben Roethlisberger in terms of the way he played the game, because you have to remember is that when they played, and when Elway played, those guys had to adapt to that style of game when they played, so they had to push that much harder in order to try and get those stats back then. And I think what we're seeing on a lot of quarterbacks now with the rules, even in college, being favored in terms of protection and whatnot, I think we're seeing the grit and that kind of style of play go away, and that's what we saw from Elway. I mean, pick a game in terms of the way he played, right?
Well, he was also he took a lot of risks, a lot of chances, and he was very physical.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. You don't kind of get that anymore, and a lot of the quarterbacks won't go down that road anymore because they don't need to, right? So I think you're seeing a bit of a yin and a yang, and kind of a balancing of the scales where the quarterbacks are not like Elway anymore. They play differently, and frankly, for this at the same with the same breath, a guy like Kyler Murray would have been killed when Elway played. No, like slaughtered.
He's gonna get killed now. He's still getting killed now.
Well, no, but and then also,
I think he means even worse.
Jackson would have lasted one season.
True.
In the Elway era, because I mean they would have taken his head off.
I would like to say I'm glad the Broncos didn't get Kyler Murray, because the guy's paper mache. Yeah, like he really is. So all right, so let's move on. What do you guys say? Move on from wide receiver. Yeah. Let's talk about what do you guys want to do? Running backs or the line?
Well, since we're in that area, let's talk about tight ends.
Tight ends. I'm sorry, you're right.
Because I was going to talk about Julius Thomas and the amazing career he had in Denver.
He really did.
And how Peyton Manning made him look like the next.
You can see it over there. Over there, I've got his jersey hanging up in the corner over here.
I don't know if you want to say the next Gronk or whoever the best. Tony Gonzalez.
Sure.
And then he ships out to Jacksonville, and then he totally flames out.
Right.
That goes just to show you how amazing of a man Peyton Manning was, where he can make anybody look like a megastar, and whether they were or they weren't, that person themselves didn't know it until they decided to go. He
elevated everyone around him.
Mm-hmm.
All the time.
Yeah, and unfortunately Jacksonville had to deal with his lingering, his nagging. What was he had an ankle issue or something?
Yeah,
what it was. And Julius Thomas never reached that pinnacle again. That
it sounds kind of funny. I believe he had a high ankle sprain, and that doesn't sound that bad. But to anybody that's ever had a high ankle sprain, you don't come back from those.
Yeah, especially when
it never goes away.
Yeah, especially when you have to cut routes and playing wide receiver or tight end positions where that's like 90% of what you need your ankle for. And if you can't cut your route or break away, then you're giving more leverage to whoever it is that's covering you.
High ankle sprains, generally speaking, is the bigger you are, the harder you fall on them. Is kind of the general rule.
And he was a big guy.
And he was a pretty big dude. So that's one of the challenges when you're that big and trying to move that fast. You're bound to have problems.
Agreed. Mm-hmm. So all right, so you got Julius Thomas in 2013, right? We'll talk about the 2015 squad. Who did we have at tight end in 2015?
We had Owen Daniels.
Virgil Green.
And Virgil Green.
Yeah, we're just gonna
went to Carolina, and
we can go ahead. I'm just gonna say it because I know that Mundungus is waiting for this because of a previous comment made on a show. We're just going to go ahead and rule out the 2015 tight end squad on this one because Virgil Green, Owen Daniels, they were, they filled the roster spots. Yeah. But that was about all they did. I mean,
Owen Daniels helped us beat the Patriots in that championship game.
Okay, sure. But, in comparison to, Noah Fant or Shannon Sharp.
Alberto. I'm emerging Alberto. Yeah.
It's not gonna. Yeah, I like it. Ron Sample says, "Watch out for Alberto."
For Alberto, yeah,
I agree. I've always said it. My wife and I were Mizzou alumnus, so that's one of the reasons I'm such a big Drew Lock supporter, such a big Drew Lock fan. But I've been watching Alberto for long before he was on the Broncos, and I loved Alberto on when he was at Mizzou.
Vernon Davis. Oh yeah, there was another one. Vernon Davis.
Yeah, that's really right. I forgot we had Vernon Davis in 2015. Yeah, that's right. I forgot we had Vernon Davis in 2015.
And even though Vernon Davis wasn't exactly the amazing player he was when he was with San Francisco, he still did enough where he helped the Broncos, get to where they needed to get and do what they needed to do to win a championship. So, kudos to him on that. But guys, just as a great tight ends that Denver has had over the years, we've also had our fair share of hit
stinkers.
And misses. Yeah. So, unfortunately, and I hate to say this because I follow him on Twitter, is Jake Butt was probably one of the big, hits and misses who, guy was really coming in with a lot of anticipation and emotion and everything, and he just couldn't get away from the injury.
It just didn't work out at all. It was a waste. It was a waste. There's no other way to say it. It was a wasted pick.
Unfortunately,
there's no other way to say it.
Agreed. I actually think that we're in a much better position now with our tight end room. Just generally speaking, I think we have two guys that are good to great pass catching tight ends. And again, to your point, actually both of your points with regards to the wide receivers, while Noah Fant and Albert O are both seen as pass catching tight ends. Yeah, I'll eventually speak. They both bring slightly different skill sets because Albert O is a little bit bigger. That's exactly right. Yes. Now bring in the Charlie Brown. Wah, 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 wah.
Yeah.
Look out for the blah, blah, blah.
But they're slightly different. Noah Fant's slimmer and a little lighter. Albert O is a little bit bigger and can kind of win those box out, contested catches and stuff. So they do similar things, but they do them in different ways.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have to bring him up, Shannon Sharpe. I don't even remember who else was a tight end in those seasons because Shannon Sharpe was so prolific. You know what I mean? So, all right, tight end position.
Mm-hmm.
Now compared to our previous bests, except maybe 2015 because we're not even going to go there. It's just not even comparable.
Jeff Hireman.
Yeah.
Broncos most overpaid tight end in the history of the team.
It's so sad. Anyway, where are we sitting right now at the tight end position compared to, our best teams of the past of the 1997, 98, and 2013?
I think that we could rival the 97, 98 team. I mean, because Noah Fant is amazing. He's a great tight end,
Well, I mean, I'd agree with you on that. In that, I think Shannon Sharpe was incredible. Noah Fant has not quite hit the level of Shannon Sharpe yet.
Oh no, yeah, I agree.
We haven't seen it. We haven't, and it's not there. But I think together with the two of them and the potential that the both of them share, I think, yeah, I agree with you on that.
So if we're talking overall talent, I 100% agree. Fant has not quite hit the Shannon Sharpe level. That doesn't mean he won't hit it this year. Albert O is better than Carswell, though. Who was the other?
That's right. Thank you, Dwayne Carswell.
Carswell. That's right.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you.
And
glass half full. Dave.
Right.
Full glass man.
Right. So when you look at what our tight end room was with Sharpe and Carswell versus Albert O and Fant, I think Shannon was above where Fant is, but I think Albert O is even in his limited time last year has shown that I think he was much better than where Carswell was when he was accompanying Shannon Sharpe on the field.
So do you think we are currently sitting at from what I'm hearing, what it sounds like, I think we are sitting with our the best place the Broncos have been at tight end all around right now.
Agree. Yeah, I agree. I think that's a fair comment.
Yeah.
And then we have to, and then, the other thing we have is we have a couple pretty promising blocking tight ends in the UDFA classes in there. I'm really interested to see where they kind of land into preseason and in training camp. But I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised with a couple of the guys that we brought in as UDFAs.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right. So running backs. I mean, it's kind of hard. I don't even think we need to take very long on this position. Terrell Davis for life. I mean, I'm excited about what we're going to see from Pookie Williams. Mm-hmm. I'm so excited about Javonte Williams. I am so freaking excited to see what he brings to this team.
Second that.
Melvin Gordon, he's good. He's good. He's good enough that he's still in the league after how many ever seasons? Yeah, I can't remember. What, 8 now, right?
With the Chargers, yeah.
Yeah, so he's good. He's good, but I'm sorry. It's not even a contest. The best in comparison, the running back, Terrell Davis takes the cake. I mean, always will. I don't know if he'll ever be dethroned.
No, I don't think. I mean, it'll be a while before it happens. But there are some honorable mentions in terms of we've had Clinton Portis, Philip Lindsay, C.J. Anderson, Mike Anderson. Thank you. Those guys were all worthy of being mentioned.
They were great,
and some of them even actually won a Super Bowl title with Denver. Yeah. In those 3 seasons, but even those guys, unfortunately, were not at the Maurice Claret.
Just no. You're a monster. Anyway. Okay. All right. Okay, I can't even right now. I'm about to sneeze. I'm actually holding back a sneeze. Hold on. Don't do it.
Look, at least he didn't say like Ronnie Hillman or something like that.
No.
As an honorable mention, that would have been a stretch.
I mean, he was okay. He was on the team once. He played for the Broncos.
And then he shipped off to Minnesota and
Minnesota
disappeared.
Yeah, he just poofed into oblivion. So, anyway, all right, moving on from running backs from those seasons. It was so easy just to say we've got a good potential for this running back room with what we've what we can expect from Pookie Williams and what we've seen for probably just one final season, in my opinion, in Denver from Melvin Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is I truly believe this will be Melvin Gordon's last hurrah in orange and blue.
Yeah, I agree.
Just alone based on the size of his contract at the position he plays at his age.
Yeah, I mean, if John Elway was still here, he would probably try to keep Melvin Gordon since he was the one that brought him in. But I don't see George Payton shelling out
Payton's not going to do
$16 million. Even if Melvin Gordon goes out and has like a 2-3, a Derrick Henry type of season, it would still be like, hey, if you want to stay in Denver, you got to take a pay cut or. And Melvin Gordon,
and he's not going to do it. He proved that with the Chargers.
Yeah,
I mean, he proved that with the team that was his home for 8 years, and he's like, "No, I'm not taking a pay cut."
Gordon has not taken over a game.
Never.
No, never. So I like at the end of the day, when you look at what we had, and you're comparing Terrell Davis and saying, okay, now let's find someone on our in our history since then. I can't think of one. I would argue probably the closest one is either going to be Portis or C.J. Anderson. At least C.J. Anderson has had certain games where he's taken over individual games. Okay, I'm not saying that he's like the greatest ever.
Oh God, no!
But I'm saying if you're finding those running backs that have literally taken over games, there's the Raiders game where he literally ran through about 15 people on his way to the end zone, which was we have a running back now, and then he had that other 2 games against the Patriots where Bill Belichick was like cursing his name on the sidelines, and it just brought a big smile to my face.
It sure did. It brought one to mind. He single-handedly defeated the Patriots in that winter game and gave the New England their first loss of that season.
There was definitely times that he may not have taken over seasons like Terrell Davis did. I mean, let's be honest. The 97 Super Bowl run would not have happened without Terrell Davis. Let's just be honest. Okay. But there were definite games that we would not have won had it not been for the efforts of C.J. Anderson. I'll give him that. I was sad to see him go to Carolina. I really truly was. But it happens. It's part of the business, I suppose. Mm-hmm. So all right. So moving on from running back, we can talk about offensive line. Again, I think it's another no contest for the 97, 98 squads, the 98 squad especially. Yeah, I mean, Tom, Nalen, Mark, Schlereth. Gosh,
for sure.
Who else? Gosh, now I gotta pull. I've got to pull it up because I'm trying to remember who all we talked about a few weeks ago. Me and Glenn.
Now, if we're gonna go line, then I think this is a really interesting conversation to have, because that was really a major reason why we did not do particularly well in the 2013 Super Bowl. Was our offensive line was getting pushed back, and they weren't able to protect Peyton Manning particularly well in the 2013 Super Bowl.
Okay.
That was a big reason why we had so many issues there, right? We weren't able to establish a run game. We weren't able to, establish pass pro. And as a result of that, we already know the results of that game.
Sure, yeah.
And so now when you look at where we were in the 98 season and compare it kind of moving forward, our 2015 offensive line was good, but not spectacular, but it was good enough. Now, if we're looking at our line this year, though, I think this is a really interesting one, because I think we have acquired some interesting players in guys like Miners and in Moody, who are perhaps more akin to the type of linemen that we're referring to when we talk about the guys from the 98 and 97 roster. When we went back and when we watched all those games in the 97-98 season and those runs, we saw holes. We saw people movers on our offensive line. And I think that in between Miners and in Muti, you have guys that are just like that. Yes,
but I mean, we haven't seen it yet, though. That's the problem.
No, it's potential at this point. It's not. We don't have this isn't like the 90. This isn't us going into the 98 season coming off of 97. This is us almost leading into like the 97 season, where we have a lot of potential in the line, and now we need to see it start to play out. I think probably more in that range.
Unfortunately, for the offensive line, they are at a huge disadvantage, because when you try to compare them to the 97-98 Broncos, that offensive line was underneath John Elway for literally 90% of the season, and except in 98 when John Elway got hurt and they had to play the backup. But even so, those guys were so welded together like a machine. They knew exactly what to do, and when audibles were called. Same thing in the 2013 season, except when they got to the Super Bowl. 2015 was kind of like the last hurrah. The offensive line kind of got together because they all knew that it was going to be Peyton Manning's last year in the league. So, and then for our offensive line this season, for the last 2-3 years, they've had to play for so many quarterbacks, for 2 different offensive coordinators, that it hasn't gotten enough where it's been a routine familiar with the exact same guy, where it's like, okay, we don't need to go over, audibles. We don't need to go over what plays are going to be called by the offensive coordinator, whatever. It's the guys already know, so the fluidity is there.
But look, you look right now, I'm looking at it right now on Pro Football Reference. I mean, you had the 97 squad O-line. You had Gary Zimmerman, Mark Schlereth, Tom Nalen, Brian Habib. He's not maybe necessarily one that I remember as much, but then you have Tony Jones. Right. I mean, those one that right there, those names are all like legendary in Broncos country, and then you move to the next season, 98, it was pretty much the same, except that Gary Zimmerman left, and that was it. So, I mean, I'm sorry, again, no contest.
I agree. I can agree with that 100%.
Yeah, me too.
No contest. Like right now, there's the potential. I cannot wait to see what Miners is capable of. I cannot wait to see what Muti is capable of, because we know he's gonna come up, and he's just gonna take this team by storm at some point. Mm-hmm. And I really hope that Cush takes a step forward, and I hope that Reisner comes back to what he showed us 2 seasons ago.
Right.
But right now, it's again, our right tackle is such a question right now. The only spot right now on our O-line that is not a question for me is left tackle, and with Garrett Bowles, that's the only one that is not a potential. We know what we got in Garrett Bowles, and we know that he's a Pro Bowl caliber, left tackle. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it's all analyzation and looking at the possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot riding on Bobby Massey coming in and being the right time.
And he is. I mean, here we are in mini camp, and he's already injured. That's scary to me, man. We haven't even gotten into real training camp right now. This, like Mundunga says it. This year's O-line could be better than the 97-98 seasons. You're right, could be.
Could be. Yeah.
I'm not comfortable. 100%. I'm going to go ahead and say right now, I am not yet comfortable enough to say will be or are.
I'm not going to be comfortable saying that until you're about halfway through the season. You see live games being played against proper teams on the other side of the ball, right?
Oh, real quick, guys, I want to say this because Ron Samples brought this up, and I had totally forgotten, and I wanted to bring it up. To those that didn't know, our offensive line coach Alex Gibbs, who was with the Broncos, I believe, for 3 decades, passed away this week. And so we, here we at Broncos Talk want to definitely give our condolences to Coach Gibbs's family, to his, his children, his wife, and a huge thank you to him for all of the years and all of the time and effort and knowledge that he imparted and gave to this team. He was with us for multiple Super Bowls, and 2 of those were wins.
Yes.
So Coach, thank you for what you did. A big Mile High salute from us, and rest in peace.
Great.
All right. So anyway, so that's where we're at with the O-line. I think the potential's there, but there's way too much unproven at this point to say that even on paper it's comparable to that.
I agree with that. Want to be mindful of time. Do you want to go to the edge position, and then we'll go into your
Don, you want to strike that off?
Yeah. So outside linebacker, you mean?
Yeah. I guess you can call it a defensive end as well.
Depending on the scheme and stuff like that. Basically, the edge of the outside linebackers. Yes.
Who's gonna, the ones that are famous for charging into the quarterback from the edge?
Just thinking about it, it's like Bradley Chubb and Von Miller.
It's no contest.
Versus,
I'm sorry.
The 2013 Von Miller and who was it? Elvis Dumervil, Wesley Woodyard. Wesley wasn't exactly a defensive end. He was more of a linebacker. He was more of an inside linebacker, but that man flew in there so fast you couldn't tell he was a middle linebacker. He played like a defensive end.
I'm going to go ahead and say it one more time. No contest. And when I say that, I'm not talking about Von Miller and Bradley Chubb right now. I'm talking about Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware 2015.
Yeah.
It's just that the 2015 Super Bowl win would have been impossible were it not for the efforts of one Von Miller, and DeMarcus Ware had himself one hell of a game there and a season, both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Miller and Dumervil, Mundunga says that he thinks Miller and Dumervil is greater than Miller and Chubb. I actually would probably agree with that, but I still say all-time best tandem there would be 2015 Miller and Ware. In my opinion. I don't know what you guys think. But
I'm actually going to go with Dumervil and Miller because Dumervil was still I think he was in an age where most defensive ends were like, okay, they're in their early 30s, they're starting to run out of gas, and starting to kind of circle the drain in terms of, playing in the NFL. But you couldn't see that in a guy like Dumervil. And Dumervil helped kind of mentor Von Miller in a sort in terms of, okay, this is how the defense is going to be played here in Denver, going in and rush. If you ever get a chance, go look at the video of every single sack that Von Miller has had since the start of his career. And when you see Von Miller literally flying, there are times where he beat Dumervil to the punch, and it almost seemed like a race to kind of see who could get to the quarterback.
Get to him first.
It's amazing, but I don't take away from what you said about 2015 DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller, because again, DeMarcus Ware was another person who helped kind of mentor Von Miller and get him kind of ready for his future in Denver.
All right, that's fair.
I'm going to probably agree with Johnny on this one, though. I think that between Miller and Ware, in particular, at those positions, I think you had a better combination of ability to get to the quarterback and disrupt the quarterback, which forced the team to try and protect both sides on the outside.
They never knew who to double team.
You could not focus on just one of them. You had to pay attention to both.
And I would agree with you what you said there, Rich, about ability to get to the quarterback. It wasn't just about speed. Dumervil, I will not take it away from him, but for Dumervil getting to the quarterback, it was almost always about beating him off the edge and being the faster man. DeMarcus Ware, he had techniques of maneuverability, the ways he moved around people.
Were
because he wasn't necessarily the fastest. He was explosive, but he wasn't necessarily the fastest getting around them. He had ways of getting around them to get to the quarterback, and that's why for me that tandem is always going to be the best for me.
Yeah, go look at that video.
Sorry,
I just want to say, go look at that video of him juking that defender against San Francisco, where he did a half spin and got the Kaepernick. Beautiful. I'm sorry, Rich. Go ahead.
So the other thing that I was kind of getting at there, it's not just rushing the passer at the edge; it's also run protection and run blocking as well.
Indeed.
And the one thing that DeMarcus Ware was very underrated in was his ability to also jump into the run game. Von Miller, I don't know if you kind of look back at the tape, he wasn't particularly a great run defender. And then when DeMarcus Ware came to the team, all of a sudden Von Miller became a much better run defender because he was learning, I think, from DeMarcus Ware because they had this mutual admiration.
They did.
I think us as fans, we need to appreciate not just the greatness of those two players on the edge from that 2015 and 2013, from the 2015 rather defense there, but also the fact that it upped Von's game and frankly has actually probably extended his career because at some point Von will not be able to have that kind of speed. It's just a fact. Like you cannot maintain that as you get older. So you need to be more versatile in terms of what you can do and how you can do it. And I think Ware helped him with that. And frankly, if you've seen DeMarcus Ware, even like I just saw him on TV a week or so ago. I'm pretty sure he can play. I'm pretty sure he can play. Like at his age, like it's ridiculous.
Oh, and he's about to have another baby, his fifth one. So congratulations to DeMarcus.
Hey, congratulations to you, D. Ware. We're happy for you, brother. All right, we got to keep it moving because we're already at 58 minutes.
So interior defensive line, I'd like to touch on that, and I think that's for me, just so I can speak quite plainly here.
And let's go ahead and roll the linebackers into that as well.
In middle linebackers,
just to save ourselves some time.
Save some time. I think that's our weakest position.
Well, just so that I don't want to get fired by Mundungus, I'm just going to go ahead and postulate 97-98 was the best because John Mobley. There you go, boss. There you go. But
yeah, don't cut off our stream, please. We love.
Yeah, I said it before you even had to type it. I said it before you typed it. John Mobley, I win. Anyway, you had John Mobley, you had Trevor Price, you had Bill Romanowski. I mean, these guys were just they were so hungry. They were animals, man. And I don't think that there has been a interior defensive line on the Broncos since that can even come close to comparing.
The only one that I will put up there, and it's because of a blend, is the 2015 defense, because I think our defensive ends were like perfect complements for each other. Sure. Derek Wolfe was the power angry person. By the way, I have been called Derek Wolfe's angry older brother. And yeah, and
I can see that.
And then Malik Jackson. Malik Jackson was very quick and had some juke moves and was able to get right through and get the pressure. See, that's actually my biggest concern with our defensive line this year, coming into this year, is we did not see pressure in the middle part of the field last year almost at all. In fact, when you look at the stats, it kind of bears that out. I'm concerned that we're going to see that again this year because we haven't really done much work on that part of our team. That's my concern.
Sure. We're not there. I mean, it's not the best. I mean, with this, sorry, excuse me. I had to get that out. Beer, man. You know how it is.
Agreed.
Right now, here's to you. Here you go. Right now, we have potential, great potential. Mike Purcell's coming back, and Shelby Harris, best hands in the NFL. I don't care what you say, best hand, big old paws. I want to do like a caricature of Shelby Harris with bear paws, because he's got them. Grizzly bear, for Rich's sake, we're talking Canada here, so grizzly bear paws.
That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. Or if we head up near, Hudson Bay, we can talk about the polar bears as well. But big old bear paws. That's Shelby Harris, and I think we're doing pretty good. I think we have the potential, but once again, I don't think it's enough to say that we're right now, as it stands, we're better than John Mobley and even with our linebackers, Baron Browning, Josie Jewell, Alexander, AJ Johnson, all good, all good in their own way. It just doesn't compare to 97, 98. It doesn't. It can't. It won't. Yeah, or 2015. It doesn't. I mean, it has the potential to, but as it stands right now, we just don't know.
No.
So
I do think though that our defensive coordinator that we have this year, and I'm looping kind of Vic Fangio in and kind of penciling him in as the D coordinator because he's basically the mastermind behind like the concepts that we're running. I do think that a Vic Fangio run defense puts all of those guys, even though as maybe certain skills or we'll say weaknesses, I think his defense puts them in such good positions that we're not going to suffer as we would if we had somebody else as our defensive coordinator or as a head coach. Right. I think that a lot of that will be mitigated just based on the fact that our coaching is so good. But, you can only take coaching so far if you don't have people that can win their one-on-ones and that sort of stuff. And the same thing holds true on the offensive line, just as the defensive line does too.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. So
I agree.
Hang on. Give me just a second here.
No, I totally agree with you guys in terms of that the front line. Shelby Harris has got a big chip on his shoulder, so he's got a lot to prove because George Payton went out and gave him, the money that
he showed him that money. He showed him that money.
So Shelby Harris, I don't think he has anything to prove in terms of any more to prove, I guess I should say, because we already know what he can do, which is what earned him that contract. Now he just has to go out there and make sure that he avoids injury, and he just does what he does best. Which
he's going to prove he can stay consistent with it. Yeah,
Mike Purcell, I believe, is in probably more of a kind of like we need to see what you can do type of season because if he gets hurt again or if he underperforms or whatever, even though he's a Vic Fangio guy, that's not going to matter. George Payton is not going to cut corners or hold favorites and.
I agree.
Hey, real quick. I mean, Dave Glassman's asking us. I believe he's asking us about our linebacker situation. How do we fare against today's top tight ends? I mean, let's be honest. Travis Kelce, and what's his name? It's slipping my mind.
Gronk.
God bless. Well, Gronk, sure, but there's the other one.
There's Kelce and Waller, who are the two big.
Darren Waller.
Darren Waller.
Look, it doesn't matter who you put on them. They're gonna play. They're gonna ball. That's just that's the nature of who they are. They are great. They are amazing football players. So everybody's like talking about how we need this linebacker to be a shutdown linebacker to shut down these tight ends. It's never going to happen. You can't shut them down. You might be able to hold them back a little bit. All you are is opening the spillways on the dam just a little bit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But you're not ever going to be able to stop them.
Agreed.
So as it stands right now, it's I'm going to say the same thing I've been saying all show. It's too soon to tell with them. It's too soon to tell. We already know what we got in AJ Johnson and Josie Jewell. They put in excellent effort. They do everything they can. They attempt to do everything asked of them for sure. We have not seen enough of Baron Browning and Justin Sternad. We barely saw anything out of him before he got hurt. So once again, too unproven to say. So we'll see.
I'm gonna take it from this vantage point. I think that those linebackers back then, because a lot of them were kind of small-ish.
I see. Okay, I'm sorry. I misinterpreted that.
Right, but so you're talking about guys that were in the early stage, like they were at the back end of their careers when like guys like Ray Lewis and other guys were kind of in the early middle stages of their careers, right?
Sure.
So I think we were just seeing the Ray Lewises and Urlachers kind of the NFL kind of start to come into their own and really solidify themselves. But when you're talking about like the Mobleys and stuff like that, they were slightly smaller and they were good and they were good at what they did. But the problem is I'm not sure that they'd be able to keep up because they wouldn't have been used to keeping
Hell,
up.
they wouldn't even have the size to defend someone like
that's what I was going to get at is they didn't have the prerequisite size speed combination that is required of linebackers to cover tight ends like that today. I mean, heck, you look at some of these cornerbacks like Pat Surtain and other guys that even we have in our team now.
They're getting taller and they're getting bigger.
They're taller, bigger, and faster. And just to be clear, that's because they're training like adults when they're in high school. So they're pushing their training back so much further, and it's helping their situation.
Okay, so real quick, KB82, Kenneth Booker in the house.
KB
says, who's better as a core, Mobley, Aldridge, Romo, or Wilson, Williams, Gold? My opinion, I'm gonna ask you guys, you guys of course too, but Mobley, Aldridge, Romo, hands down.
Agreed.
100%. I mean, taking nothing from the ability of Al Wilson, DJ Williams, or Ian Gold. As a core, Mobley, Aldridge, and Romo were just a far superior trio.
Agreed.
So,
you also have to compare that to who they were playing against too.
Truth that.
Right? Like you can't try to play devil's advocate and say, well, if they were playing against like this guy. You can't start transplanting guys and say, well, if they were playing now, those other guys would have been better. Yeah, but they weren't.
That's right.
Right?
You tell them, Rich. All right. So in the interest of time, let's move on. Let's move on and knock at our secondary. Then we can talk real quick because quarterbacks.
Cornerbacks, yeah.
Cornerbacks and safeties. I mean, obviously, 97, 98, you have Steve Atwater. You have Tyrone Braxton. You have hold on, I'm pulling it up because there were so many good names on those squads.
I mean, do we need to go into it? Can we just not?
No, we can just go ahead and say it. Just go ahead and say it.
It's 98, like
97, 98. Yep.
Yeah, it's 97, 98. Like, let's just.
I mean,
as good as our 2015 defense was, safety was not the strongest position group on that side of the ball. It was the cornerbacks, linebackers, and defensive line, and you were getting the pressure from the defensive line, which helped the safeties not look they were out of place. So let's just say we had a much better safety group in the 97, 98.
I mean, because you look right, just real quick. I'm just going to say, I've gotten the 97 one up, and it's pretty much the same as it was 98. There was really not much change. You had Ray Crockett. You had, you had Darian Gordon. You had Tyrone Braxton and Steve Atwater, dude. I mean, like you can't.
As far as I'm concerned, that's a no-brainer.
It is a no-brainer. It is a no-brainer. Now that even now, as good as this defense looks with Kyle Fuller and
Bryce Callahan.
Ronald Darby, Bryce Callahan, Justin Simmons, Kareem Jackson, Patrick Surtain, all those names, phenomenal. Either have been phenomenal and have the potential to be phenomenal, but again, we're using that word potential. We can look back. And I'm sorry. When it comes to Ray Crockett, Darian Gordon, Tyrone Braxton, and Steve Atwater, just those four names alone, no contest. There's no right now. This team, even on paper, does not compare.
Yeah, you're talking safety.
Yeah,
safety's behind. Like it's not even close.
Well, Ray Crockett and Darian Gordon were cornerbacks, but still.
Yeah,
I mean, Ray Crockett himself is a legend in not just the Broncos country in the NFL.
Now I'm pushed back.
I think it's only a matter of time before he's Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I'm going to push back a little bit in terms of our 2015 no-fly zone. That was because I separate safeties and cornerbacks. I think that the weaker of the two positions. I think the weaker of the two positions in the 2015 was safety, but I think that one of our strongest position groups, and frankly, one of the best in the entire, if not the best in the entire league, was our cornerback trio that we had in 2015 in our defense. And I would probably push back, and I'd probably say our 2015 cornerback group was probably the best we've had.
Let's see, who was that? Just real quick.
Because we had takeaways, we had passes defended, we had tackles. Like we literally covered like the entire kind of gamut of stats there, and we just slaughtered the league. And part of that, and Talib has actually said so on his podcast, where he credits our defensive line with the ability for him to be able to play the way he did.
Yeah, I mean, you had Aqib Talib, Chris Harris Jr., who, I mean, again, taking nothing away from their ability. Chris Harris Jr. was an undrafted free agent who came in and balled out. I mean, he balled out. You know, TJ Ward, Darian Stewart, like you said, I think our quarterbacks was our strength. Aqib Talib and Chris Harris Jr. on the left and right. You know, Darian Stewart and TJ Ward, say nothing. I'm saying nothing bad. You know, they were not the difference maker. They were great. The no-fly zone as a whole was great. The difference maker was Aqib Talib and Chris Harris Jr.
Right.
100%.
No, I totally agree.
So I would definitely postulate for sure.
Guys,
at least
you clearly missed my earlier comments on Simmons.
You did, Mike. You missed it.
No, he was too busy in his meeting. So maybe you can go back and watch the beginning section, and he'll actually hear my comments on Simmons.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Exactly.
No, you know what, Mike? Earlier, Rich actually complimented and talked good about Justin Simmons. I was shocked too.
For a split second, boss. For a split second. Just wait till you hear the audio.
It's crazy. Anyway,
guys, we're this close to finishing. I just wanted to quickly touch base on one thing. The special teams in terms of the kicking unit. In 98, we had Jason Elam and Tom Ruin. and in 2015, we had Brandon McManus and Britton Colquitt.
Don't forget 2013, we had Matt Prater.
And then we have Matt Prater in however, we're looking at the overall units. Prater was clearly the star in terms of that kind of general group in terms of what he was able to accomplish in the NFL.
He still holds the record for longest field goal.
He does. So, but when we're looking at the overall group, when you're kind of grouping them together as a combined kind of sum of the group, what do you think?
Well, Brandon McMahon junk. It's tough. First of all, I was pen pals with Matt Prater when I was in Afghanistan. He actually wrote me letters, which was really cool. I still have them somewhere in this place. You know, it was pretty cool to get letters from the kicker of my team. He was a real good guy. Even if he got caught token up, who cares? I will always say my favorite kicker, though, as much as I love Matt Prater, is Jason Elam. And Tom Ruin, I mean, I barely remember the name of our punter from 2 years ago. You know, but I remember Tom Ruin. I even today, 20 years later, I still remember Tom Ruin. You know, so I would definitely say special teams wise, at least on that side of special teams, that's no contest. Elam and Ruin. I don't know what you guys think. What do you think?
I'm gonna just go with Matt Prater just to keep it short.
I mean, it works. He still holds that record, man. He still holds that record, and the fact that we let him go over something as trivial as you know, for what he did. I mean, I'm pretty upset. I was very upset about it then, and I'm still very upset about it now. Because poor guy went off to Detroit for his career to die.
Yeah, except he still did well when he was there.
He still did well when he was there, but it's still Detroit. Okay, it's you know, had he not been cut, he would have still been with the Broncos when we won the Super Bowl. He would have had his ring.
There is a faction of the Diaz family that are Lions fans, and they are substantively larger than you are.
I don't care. You think I'm scared?
The Lions hate.
You think I'm scared? Hey, Diaz family. Hey, Adon, I love you, brother. Diaz family, I will gladly tweet you my home address. I'll see you soon. I face down the Taliban. I'm not afraid of you.
That's promise.
That being said, it's where his career went to die. The guy had a chance he would have been our kicker with a Super Bowl ring, and we cut him for a stupid reason. And he went to the Lions where he himself did great, but the franchise couldn't carry him.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Just saying. That being said, finally, let's hit the last position we need to really hit, and this is going to be very quick. Quarterback. How does our quarterback situation compare to 2015, 13, and 97, 98?
Well,
we'll come back to that next year.
the only two. Well, compared to now.
Yeah, we're comparing.
That's laughable.
Compared every position. Let's talk quarterback. How does our quarterback position compare right now, guys?
We don't even have a number one.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
So I guess we can end with that.
No, we don't even need to say it. We don't even need to say it.
Really, the only argument at this point is 2013, 2015. Where do those two combined years compare to the 97, 98? But that's a different show. That's really not what we're doing.
There's too much there.
We're comparing 21 to those other years. We're not even close.
Ultimately, the goal was today to figure out, do we have the best team ever right now? I'm not hearing yes, but I'm also not hearing no. So, I mean, what do you guys think? I'm hearing potential. I'm hearing potential. It's what we've come across the whole episode. Potential. Every position we've had the potential. Are we there yet? No. Can we be? Sure. Right? What do you guys?
Totally agree. So, I mean, we have covered the entire team now.
We have. We did it. We did it in an hour and 17 minutes. We've done it.
Yeah. So, I mean, at this point here, I really want to thank every single person who came into the chat today, especially all of you who stuck around. We really appreciate you guys, and thank you for supporting the show. Thank you.
Oh, amen. Oh, wait. Oh, here you go.
Round of applause.
That's right.
So we wanted to remind everyone that we're on a quest for 1,000.
You guys want to do it? You guys want to do the quest?
1,000 subscribers here on YouTube.
You guys want to do the quest real quick? Here we go. Ready? You gotta tilt up and look to the sky like you're regal. You ready? Here we go. There it is.
So, like I said, we're on a quest for 1,000. We'd like to get to 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube. And the best way you can help us get there is to go ahead and slap that thumbs up button. Click the subscribe. There's a little bell to the right of that. Click that too. That'll help you know when we are having new content, when we go live. And you can share that content with all of your friends and other fellow Broncos fans.
Amen.
Make sure that you are tuning in to our flagship Broncos podcast, the MHRT Podcast with Mundungus Creevy, Glenn Hauser, Mr. Boggins, and a 6'10". He's just kind of down there. And they go.
He looks short right now, but he's not. I know.
They go live every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, 6 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Mountain, and there's a bunch of other time zones that come after that, and we can just forget those.
Yes, please.
And on Sunday, we have the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast with Isaiah. Oh, yeah, there's another guy that's on that show, too. His name is Johnny Baki, and he's over there up to or to my right as I'm looking at my screen. And they go live at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, and 4 p.m. Mountain. We love all of you out there in Broncos country.
This week, we have a guest. This week we have a guest.
Now, are we ready?
On Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue. We have a guest this Sunday.
You do?
All right. We do. And, thank you, Dave Glassman. He says, NRW crew. Love it. All right. Hey, Johnny Taki and Pookie Knight, Mundungus says. That's right. I'm okay with it.
Fantastic. Now, guys, we have one last thing to do at the end of the show.
Real quick, the guest. I got to give the guest real quick. This Sunday on Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue at 6543, we are having the newest correspondent, the newest reporter and correspondent and host of Mile High Sports, Lindsay Bobo, on the show. She was hired this last week she was brought on board at Mile High Sports. So we decided, let's build an early bridge. All right. So we hit her up and she's coming on the show. We can't wait to talk to her, get her points of view on Broncos history and Broncos today. So that's going to be a lot of fun, guys. Please do not miss it. All right. Are you, and now continue. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Well, we have an important mile event that we have to hit.
Yes, we do.
So are we all ready for the mile high five?
Not forgetting it this week, Mike. Not forgetting it this week. Are you guys ready for this?
Tingling.
All right, here we go. Prepare yourselves. Ready? Mile high five. Yes!
That was good. That was good.
Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next Tuesday, guys.
Bye.
Oh, God.
That was beautiful.